incendie partout.
What's going on there, jerk faces? It's your boy Andy, and you're watching Nocturnal Transmissions, brought to you by the Circle of Jerks podcast. It's a live stream where we talk about news, current events, esoteric ideas, along with our movie review. With me, as ever, is the homeboy Rob.
What's going on, everybody?
I hope you didn't miss us too much. I know we had
Not my fault.
Yeah, we had technical difficulties last week on my part, but it wasn't my fault because it was an act of God. Because of all the mess, all the rain that we had knocked out the power at my place for almost 12 hours, and so what is it? They didn't the city or the DWP didn't dispatch work crews until about like 5:30. And they didn't restore power until about like 7:30, almost 8 o'clock.
Jesus Christ. Well, don't feel bad, Andy. The rain got me too. It ended up fucking up my tire and wheel.
Oh shit!
Which ended up cost me a lot of money that I'm trying to get recouped from the city right now. So.
What exactly happened?
So I was driving on the freeway, going to a movie on Wednesday night with a couple of friends, and getting off the freeway, and it's the freeway off ramp is super dark. It's raining, and there's this giant pothole that just kind of covered up. It's filled with water.
Right.
You can't see it, and blam! And as soon as I hit it, the tire blew out. It hit the rim. And it was a huge pain in the ass. Wife was pissed off, understandably so. But yeah, got that repaired. But because the city has something going on right now where you can put in a claim for them to compensate you for the up to $10,000 in damage on the. On whatever happens. I didn't get into an accident. I just blew out the tire, and it turned out it bent the fucking rim too, which was crazy. It was a mess. I mean, as soon as I hit it, I was like, "Fuck."
All right. But yeah, we got.
But
I'm sorry. Well, let me just get this part in. We're double dipping. We're doubling up. Or double stuffing tonight with our movie review. We'll be doing what would have been last week's, which is also the start of a new month and new theme. And this month is Rise of the Machines, and so this month is all about our machine overlords eventually coming into power and ruling over us. And the two movies, the movie that was going to start us off this month is Ex Machina, and then tonight's what's tonight's movie is Her from 2013.
Yeah, movies that came out just a year apart from one another, so kind of some good modern movies. Normally we do some old stuff around here, but no, we're doing some modern stuff this month. It's fairly modern. It's 10 years old.
Wow, can you believe that's 10? Those movies came out 10 years ago. Wow.
Yeah, Ex Machina is 10 years old this year.
Wow. As well as our topics for discussion for this week. I mean, last week we had fairly topical discussion topics, but at this point they're kind of like our 24-hour news cycle. It makes everything irrelevant. But don't worry. We actually we will this week we always plan what we're going to talk about in lieu or not in lieu, but given the fact that tomorrow is Valentine's Day, uh, we definitely wanted to talk about the rise of OnlyFans the and not just the the degenerate parts of it, but also the parasocial bond that is created through platforms like OnlyFans, which
we'll be discussing in our
mhm.
films as well.
So
They don't.
Oh yeah, it
should be interesting.
We're gonna do a little housekeeping, but I don't think you real guys really care about what our weeks were like. But I know Rob definitely didn't want to talk about something.
Yeah, we were gonna do this last week, but we wanted to just touch on the untimely passing of one of our favorites on this channel is Carl Weathers. He passed away, and obviously he's of Rocky fame, Predator. He's been in The Mandalorian. Recently was really good in that. One of our favorite movies, which apparently like now a whole bunch of people are coming out of the woodwork like, oh yeah, this is one of my favorites. Action Jackson, which we've talked about on this channel, and yeah, it was just kind of like, wow, that was kind of, it wasn't, I didn't know if he was sick or if it was just kind of something sudden that came about. But we just wanted to honor Carl Weathers, one of our favorites here, and yeah, it, we can, thankfully we have a lot of great movies and shows that he's been in that we can kind of go and revisit and enjoy. That will always be there, and he's one of he's one of those good guys in Hollywood that seem to be like really well liked, and just yeah, he'll definitely be missed.
Yeah. And of course, when I was quite shocked because I knew he was old, but I didn't think he was at death's doorstep. And I think
kind of
yeah, and I think
shocking.
likewise, a lot of people were caught off guard, and really weren't expecting him to pass, so suddenly. So you
Yeah,
know,
especially because he had other projects
exactly,
coming
yeah,
out too. That's
exactly,
why I was kind of surprised. You don't usually plan that far ahead if you think
right.
you're gonna be fucking dead.
But yeah, we did do our obligatory uh, Carl Weather, honor post on our social media. So, um, and I didn't, and a lot of people they use like stills from his movies and stuff, but I just used like a spin. I just found a simple, headshot, of Carl Weathers, because it's
Yeah, yeah.
because I think a lot of people can be like stuck because I grew up with Predator. I grew up with Rocky. I grew up with um, even Happy Gilmore. Um,
Oh
right,
yeah,
and
I always forget about that. Yeah, he's
all
Happy Gilmore
iconic
as well.
all iconic
Chips.
portrayals by Carl Weathers. And I could have done a multiple picture post, but I just wanted to honor the man, the man that
Right,
that
right.
gave us such great performances, and who's just been who's been such a constant figure in like, a lot of our lives. And so I just did, I just put up a simple headshot, thanking him for of course thanking him for the various roles that he Dylan and Predator and Apollo Creed and so on and so forth. But yeah, I just want I went a different route and I
Yeah.
posted just a simple headshot of Carl Weathers, and
Yeah, I saw that. I like that you did that. It's similar to when we talked about Kevin Conroy passing, and we'll always have those great classics that we can go back and revisit, and uh, it just kind of people remember him from his movies. From what I've read about the guy, and I've never met him obviously, but seems like he was just kind of an upstanding dude, and which is very, very rare. And he was in some of the greatest movies of all time, and everyone that talks about him says that he was so great. Arnold and Sylvester Stallone, and all his co-stars. I don't think there's
Right.
been a bad word said about him. And that's that's something. There's something to be said about that.
A testament to his character.
Yeah.
Just before I don't know if you brought this up, but Robert we started the stream, he was telling me, because one of seldomly referenced movies of Carl Weathers is Action Jackson, and Robert was telling me how like a slew of people coming out and proclaiming their love of this movie, and it's really hard because again, like not a lot of people are aware of that. And I mean, I always knew about the movie Action Jackson. I forgot, it came out when I was very young, and I didn't get to watch it when I was young, but I knew that it existed, and then I forgot that it was Carl Weather, and then I saw it again as an adult, and I was just like, dude, this movie is awesome. And then I shared it with Rob.
This is
and I shared it with
should have
Rob,
been a
and
franchise.
he was like, dude, this should have been a franchise, and I wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah, it's just it's a shame that it wasn't. But yeah, now all of a sudden, and I'm really hoping that they are true fans of the movie, and like it's just his passing is just reminding them of how awesome this movie is. But I was like, where was all this like when we were talking about it? And there's no one talking about fucking Action Jackson. Now all of a sudden everyone's a fan of this fucking movie, which is great. I mean I hope maybe there's a resurgence, and maybe there's one of those boutique Blu-ray releases of Action Jackson now that he's passed away. Maybe like Criterion put something out, or Kino Lorber or Arrow Video or something like that, where we get some extras on Action Jackson, which would be awesome, because I'll be the first one in line. It's like, yeah, I want it. I want to buy it, because that movie's fucking great.
Yeah, it really, that movie. Yeah, it's kind of straddles like almost the absurd, but like reels it back in just enough. Because just the incredible feats of of strength and agility by Action Jackson, the character, which was like just the right amount of absurd. Like there was like the scene where he literally was able to jump over a speeding like taxi coming at him, and so,
oh fuck yeah!
It's just like it's just like great. It's just the right amount of absurd, right? Because he's built up like he's built up as like this character. Like he's almost the what is it? There's like folklore about him. Like he's like, oh, it kind of in a similar vein of like the Chuck Norris jokes. It's like, oh, when Chuck Norris does push up, he's actually pushing the world down. That kind of thing. Like at the police station, or like the criminals, or I was like, oh, that's Action Jackson. I heard, he caught a bullet one time with his eyelids.
Yeah, right. It's like something crazy like that. It's it's neo blaxploitation, which is great. Had that been done in the 70s, like you'd have Fred Williamson, or somebody, or like Jim Brown in that role. But man, Carl Weathers really brings it in Action Jackson. That movie's fucking great.
Yeah,
Craig T. Nelson is the bad guy. When he jumps over that fucking taxi. When he jumps over that fucking taxi, I was like, yes,
that
this is so great.
Well, even in some of the '90s stuff, Craig Dean Nelson is always the bad guy. He is. He's a good
He's a good
heavy. I
heavy.
mean, like I think the only time
Similar to
what
like John
John
Lithgow.
Lithgow,
Similar to John Lithgow, who was also a really good
right?
heavy around that same period.
Yeah, hell, even John Voight. John Voight played played the heavy a lot too.
John Boy can do both. He can play the hero, he can
Mm-hmm.
play the heavy.
Mm-hmm.
He has a wide
Yeah, I think for
range.
Craig Dean Nelson though, he like his only one of the only chances he had to be like a good guy was a TV role, which kind of yeah, Coach.
Coach.
He played like it
Which is a
is,
fucking good show, by the
and then it
way.
has a very a young, I forget what the actor's name is, but he voices Patrick Star from SpongeBob. Yeah,
The
yeah,
guy who plays
yeah.
Dauber.
You know
Yeah,
that
okay.
was Dauber.
That
Dauber
was
did.
Dauber
Yeah,
that did
he
him in
voices Patrick
SpongeBob.
Star. Yeah, and then of
Get
course
out
you
of
had
here.
Dick Van Dyke's brother, Jerry Van Dyke. Um, yeah,
Right, who
as
was
that kind of
also
like the
really
more
good.
comic relief character. But
Yeah.
Coach.
What? No, I had no idea that
Yeah,
Dauber was the voice of Patrick. I know he was
yeah,
also
he
in
plays
How I Met
the
Your
dad
Mother.
of
He
Jason
was
Segel's character.
the dad. Yeah.
Yeah.
But oh man, like yeah, so he had a pretty
Oh yeah,
he's
and
in some
then
iconic
later.
roles then.
Oh, I mean, yes, that actor particularly, but yeah, Craig T. Nelson there. He then goes on to voice Mr. Incredible in the Incredible series.
That's right,
But he also
yeah.
played.
He was really
Interestingly enough,
God
Craig T.
so good in
Nelson
that.
then in I think the late '90s, he then goes on to play this uh, billionaire developer who's accused of murder in the Devil's Advocate in the Devil's
Is
Advocate.
that a movie?
Yeah.
Oh, I've never
Interestingly
seen the
enough,
Devil's
the
Advocate.
apartment that there's a scene where Keanu Reeves is in this movie, and he's the hotshot lawyer brought in to defend him, and the apartment that they shoot that scene in is actually Donald Trump's personal apartment. Yeah,
Is that real? Oh my God, I did not know that.
yeah.
We
It's
might have to do
a
Devil's Advocate. That might
oh
be a
man,
fun movie to
it's
do.
I remember seeing it as a yeah, Pacino's yeah
Pacino's in that film too, right?
he plays the devil. Yeah, he plays the devil. And
Satanist.
man, does he play the devil? Yeah,
She's got a great ass.
a little bit more subdued than that. Like same kind of energy. Yeah, or no, not energy,
Energy,
vibe.
but like
Same
just a
vibe,
little
different
bit more
energy.
subdued.
Because it's a lot more.
Okay, okay.
The only way to say it is devilish, more devilish.
Yeah, he's
Exactly,
bubbling, but he's not
exactly.
like over the top.
But
Okay.
yeah, yeah, I remember watching that as a young man. It's like, I mean, we did get to see a naked Connie Nielsen at her prime.
That's also true.
But
Yeah.
either way, that movie was great, and yeah, the performances in
I think
that
I'm gonna have to
movie
rewatch
are
that this week because
so
it's just such a good.
are like they stick with you. I remember, yeah. I mean, I've seen Devil's Advocate in subsequent viewings, but that first viewing when I watched it as a young man, yeah, it stuck with me. Like even like everyone, like Charlize Theron's in it. She does a great a real kind of haunting did a real haunting kind of performance. Of course, Al Pacino brings it as as the devil incarnate. Even Keanu Reeves does a good job in um, as like the kind of like almost being like on the scales and like is this soul gonna be damned or is he gonna find redemption? I think he despite his perceived like
I'm
wooden
gonna have to check this
performances,
out. This sounds like a
I
great
think he
movie.
did a good job. But yeah, so I think we have to fit that in somehow.
Oh, we could probably we could do like kind of like a devilish month. We could do that with Angel Heart
I was just thinking about
and
that movie.
Bedazzled and
Yeah.
and I'm
Yeah, we could
sure we
call
can
it
find
Devil in the
another one.
Details month.
Oh, oh, dude, I like this. All right, we got it. I'm gonna write
Right?
this
Yeah.
down
We
before I
got
fucking forget.
you know, a little bit of a backstage look into the backstage. Like, me and Rob we're constantly bouncing these ideas off each other, and it's like, oh yeah, great idea, but we don't write them down, and it's like, dude, what was that thing we came up with that one time? Yeah.
What did we say?
Yeah, we're men of a certain age, so our memory isn't so great.
Oh man. But yeah, I just wanted to give a shout out to our boy Carl Weathers. Rest in peace. And we'll always be able to remember you in your movies. And I hope everyone's okay. From his family and all that.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, unless there's something else you want to address, we can just kind of jump into our topics.
Let's get it. Wait. Did you want to go into a topic first, or before the review?
Well, I was thinking like we could just kind of touch on the Super Bowl ad, and then our movies roll into our other topics. So
okay, well, yeah. I mean, for those of you unaware, the Super Bowl was this past Sunday, and whether you believe, it's all a script, and it was predetermined for like the winner to be the winner, and yada yada yada. Um, that's beside the point.
the country cannot see Taylor Swift cry, so the Kansas City Chiefs had to
I
win.
know, or one of a theory that was floated by one of my favorite thinkers, Owen Benjamin, was that this was a play, kind of like a stage performance of like the different financial systems, like because he pointed out that this past year, every like major sports league, the team is always there's something like to do with gold. So like I think for the NHL, the Golden Knights,
The Golden
Golden
Knights.
Knights won.
The Denver Nuggets.
The Denver Nuggets, yeah, gold Nuggets, and then now it was the San Francisco 49ers.
It's almost the 49ers.
Yeah, 49ers.
Yeah.
Versus the Chiefs, but during this year, like it wasn't even about the Chiefs. It was about more like Taylor Swift, as in the Swift system.
Yeah.
So so it's like it's all a stage play to like do this thing about like which financial system is gonna rule us for the next 20 years or whatever. But we saw that San Francisco lost, and and the Chiefs won, and so symbolically the SIFs in that case the Swift system won out. But anyways, regardless of that fact, another aspect of the Super Bowl, are the commercials. And if you, I mean, luckily for us, we grew up during an era where they put out some really great commercials, like one
iconic commercials. Like there's there were some like really great ones that they've put out, but
I mean,
man,
particularly Budweiser.
When was the last good one that we really got? Like, it's been at least 10 years.
Yeah, I would say. But yeah, I mean, like both of us, we came up during the time of like the Bud Light Frogs and the Was Up guys.
Yeah, when they're actually selling something, you know what the fuck they're talking about. Right. It's not just some random bullshit. Nowadays, it's like it's almost like you're solving a puzzle and trying to figure out like what the fuck they're trying to sell you.
Right. I remember.
Now I've also been. I'm still one of those crazy people that watches the Super Bowl to for the actual fucking game, not the commercials.
Right. Or the halftime show.
I could, yeah, I could give a shit about the halftime show, commercials. I was like, I just want to watch the game, and I mean, obviously, my team hasn't been in it in uh 30 years, so they've come close. The last couple of years, they've been close, but yeah, they haven't made it.
Right. Well,
But
yeah.
man, it was.
But yeah, I definitely wanted to respond to one particular commercial, and I mean, I think if you read the title, you know what I'm talking about, and that's the the organization, like He Gets Us, that put out this ad, where it had like kind of like opposing factions, and they're washing each other's feet, and at the very end, they have like this fruity homo guy on roller skates, and he's getting his feet washed by this Catholic priest or whatever. And at the end of it, at the end of the tagline is like Jesus didn't preach hate, and like Jesus gets us, and Jesus is all is for us, for all of us, or whatever bullshit.
Yeah, I've been seeing their billboards for at least a couple years now. So there's some sort. They obviously they have whatever this organization is has a lot of money.
Yeah, which
And
which
then
should be
number
which really
two,
should be the first red flag. Is like what Christian organization has millions of dollars to just drop on Super Bowl ads?
it's usually some sort of cult that's doing
Or
it.
yeah,
For
or
one,
like some
it
organization that's not like of the church, but it's like being like backed by dark money.
yeah, that's usually like there's usually not a uh church that actually believes in the Bible and all that stuff that is putting out billboards. It's just not happening. Which I think a lot of people don't understand, and that it's like that. Just the Catholic Church does not need to promote
Right.
itself.
Like the same
It's
way that
not, at
McDonald's
least not
doesn't really need to promote itself, even though they still do, because
yeah,
everyone
like
knows
Coke
what
and
McDonald's
Pepsi
is.
and the Catholic Church don't need to promote themselves. We all know that they exist. Um, whether like for good or bad reasons, people know that they exist. The So I've seen their billboards around. I was like, what the? It's like what cult is this? And then we get this Super Bowl commercial this year, which is clearly done by some sort of weird AI art. It's
Although
doesn't.
they yeah,
There was something
I
about
got
it that
that same feeling
doesn't
too,
look
but
right.
they swear up and down that they got like this world renowned photographer, and like and I understand like how they could have gotten that same like look, but yeah, it does look AI generated.
It doesn't look.
Yeah, I mean I know how
Yeah,
to
it doesn't look
get
right.
achieve that kind of look, but I even though I know how the technical side of that works, I still think that it was AI generated.
There's no way.
Right.
I don't care what they say. I don't believe them. That is definitely AI generated, and that there's no. There's definitely a
Right.
something about that, which it's like well, this whole thing is going to be about like AI this week, but yeah, and I remember like looking into these guys a couple of years ago when I first saw their ads. I was like, what is this? And I was like, oh, it's one of these people who they promote Christianity, and yet nothing about them is about Christianity. It's about all
Right.
these
Or it's a
platitudes
perversion.
and
It's a perversion of
woke ideologies
Christ's teachings. Like one of the
where
really quick, one of the
if they
things
were
that like one of the articles that they have on their thing is like, oh, 5 ways Jesus was for women's rights or whatever. It's just like no.
Not,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
but not the way
not
you're
in the
saying it.
way, not in the context that you are thinking about it. It's like, was Jesus for women? Yes. Did Jesus want women to be treated well? Yes, but not in this like, oh, we're all the same, we're interchangeable. There's literally no difference between men and women kind of way. Not that way.
Yeah, it's just it's a perversion of the actual gospel message and what
Oh right, yeah, and like,
Christianity actually stands for. But
yeah,
there's
I was
gonna be
just
a
gonna
lot
say one more thing.
of
One
who's
more
fooled
thing,
by
that
this.
it's like, oh, well, Jesus was a refugee, and when refugee was like the big thing. It's like, oh, Jesus was a refugee. It's like, no. I mean, I can understand
No, he
like where
wasn't.
they're taking that from. Like, when he had to when Pilate was, I mean, not Pilate, Herod. Herod was, he was pulling a pharaoh and was killing all the firstborns within the region, and and then Mary, Joseph, and Jesus, yeah, booked it out.
Fled to
Got out
Egypt.
of Dodge and fled to Egypt. It's like, oh, well,
But
that makes them
guess what
refugees.
happened? They came.
Exactly.
They came back. They came back after Herod died. It's like, yeah, if you want to call him a refugee in
Right.
that sense, I guess, but it's not like the refugees that are coming into this country nowadays. That's not, it's not the same fucking thing.
Exactly.
Oh, it's just, but there are everyone that interacted with who saw this, or they're looking at this is like, what the fuck is this? Like, and I'm at a bar too, and so there's people that are like, what the fuck? Yeah, that was the like the literal
Mhm.
thing that everyone said in the bar, watching the game this Sunday. I was like, and yeah, it's both me. I was with Santa and and then Dan the man. We were all together, and uh Santa and I were just like, "What the fuck is this?" It's like, and you saw all these other people in the bar was like, What is this about?" It's like, exactly. It doesn't mean anything. It's stupid, and it seems like a lot of the reaction from normal people on this, they realize this is all bullshit. But clearly there's a point to it because this organization has a lot of money behind it. Now, where that money is coming from, who the fuck knows? I have no idea. Um, you have, but I'm sure there's some well-meaning dumbass Christian who doesn't know anything about anything. It's like, yeah, that's right. Jesus washed people's feet. We need to be nicer to people. It's like,
Right.
oh,
Yeah.
you don't get it,
Yeah. And
buddy.
then
I'm
again,
sorry.
you might have some well-meaning Christians that be like, oh, well, like, yeah, it's it's not like strictly adhering to you know you know orthodox theology or whatever, but at least it's getting people to talk about Jesus. And it's like, no.
Oh my god. That's the same kind of argument of like, well, none of this is true,
Exactly.
but it talks to a
Exactly.
greater truth. It's like, shut the
Exactly.
fuck up. It's like, shut
It's like,
up.
shut up,
Like, you
Meg.
don't know anything about anything. Just shut up. Yeah, shut up, Meg.
Yeah, and so yeah, and if you notice that it's always the perceived oppressed person getting their feet washed by the perceived oppressor.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny too because there's also articles of people like, quote unquote oppressed people being pissed off. It's like, of course, the oppressors are, the ones that are, trying to wash the feet of the oppressed and like they should be forgiven.
Mhm.
And it's like, so no one's happy about this in a lot of even there's a lot of people that are just like, what is going on? But there's a point to it. I don't and what the intention is, I don't know. I don't know what they're trying to do other than subvert.
Well, I mean, that's the
Christianity in
point.
some way,
That's the
because
point because
it's
they know that
bullshit. That's
Christianity is too strong. I mean, yes, a lot of ways Christianity has been subverted and infiltrated and watered down, but they know that they have to do this stuff to weaken Christianity because again, it's too strong. It's offering too great of a thing. Christianity offers too great of a thing for it to them to leave it alone. They have to weaken it. They have to subvert it. They have to pervert it because ultimately what does Christianity offer is hope, and they can't have hope because they're the ones who are supposed to give out the hope. They're the ones that people are supposed to look to for hope, not the church, not to God. And so that's really the reason.
yeah. It's funny. I just finished up a review of The Night of the Hunter, and that movie is all about. There's the evil religious people like Harry Powell, Robert Mitchum's character, and then you have like the good but flawed, religious person. That's Lillian Gish's character, and then you also have the stupid religious people, which are like Icy Spoon, and it's, was Evelyn Barton's character, where it's just there's and I feel like this caters
Mm-hmm.
to like the stupid religious person,
Or yeah,
where someone who
even to be generous, I'm too busy to look into things, but I mean well, kind of Christian. Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of those who they've never actually read the Bible. They profess a belief, but they don't actually. I don't. I think if they really encountered what it means to be a believer, they would
Right.
be
Yeah.
horrified.
Right. They haven't.
And
They
like
haven't
and the
truly counted the
struggle
cost.
that goes with that.
Mm-hmm.
It's the free gift that'll cost you
Mm-hmm.
everything, and people don't
Yeah. It's a
understand that.
pair. Yeah. That's a beautiful way of saying it, Robert. Yeah, because it's a paradox. I mean, much in the same way that Jesus is a paradox. Because he's God and man. And he was 100. And I know there's I know there's this huge, not schism, but kerfluffle about whether Jesus was God and like the whole there is like this
That's a thousand.
yeah, I
That's
know
a
exactly,
two
yeah, it's a
thousand year
2,000-year
argument
argument,
too.
but
By
like
the
yeah,
way,
but people like again like maybe they haven't really taken the time to examine the word, um, or even do like their own investigation into the matter. Uh, God, where was I going with this? Oh yeah, the free
well, the
gift that will
idea
cost you
that
everything. That's such a beautiful way of putting it, and it's like and it's a paradox because because even when Jesus' teachings, he never said that he was going to make your life easy um, or that right that yeah
you're gonna be
yeah
filled with riches, or
exactly
that you're
because
gonna
even
be.
in his teaching like take up my yoke for it is easy. If you really think about what a yoke is or what a yoke is, it's a device to do work. And a yoke, in the context that he was using, was talking about one that was used by, oxen. So it's wide enough for two oxen. And typically, what they would do, especially with a younger ox, is attach it to an older ox, and the older ox would carry the load more until the younger ox got strong enough. And so that's what
Yeah,
so when Jesus says, "Take up my yoke, for it is light," it's light because Jesus is the other ox that he's attaching himself to you to help you carry that load. Exactly.
so that you can grow and become strong. Yeah. No, that takes a lifetime, but it's it's eventually like you're gonna become strong enough where you're able to handle a lot more things
Exactly.
as you gain strength. And there's not that this organization had they don't have any of that in there. This is all it's at best it's platitudes, and at worst it's just a perversion of what the
Yeah, and
gospel
I mean,
message
yeah, like
is.
that.
You're turning something that is a symbolic gesture that is happens in the Christian community, like the idea of washing feet, doing like the lowliest that God, the idea that God did the lowliest task, with like the dirtiest task you could think of, that lowering himself to like to the lowest level to serve
Right, but
his
also, but then,
creation, as an example for us to serve one another. That's the idea behind it. Not this like, oh, well, we just need to wash people's feet. That's what Jesus did because he's, he's pro-trans and like he's a refugee and he hated all the horrible people. But I guarantee that if these people actually read the Bible, they would fucking blow their
right, and I
minds.
mean, yeah, and also you have to take into account the context. Like people, you know, take these things completely out of context, and the context does matter. And when you see when you read the part about where he washes the feet, like when is he doing that and who is he doing that? Or more, but the more important one is who's he doing it to? Is he doing it to random strangers? No, he's doing it amongst his disciples,
No.
his followers, and he says, and he said, "Do like I do, and show honor, amongst yourselves, amongst other followers." Because I mean, because there are some things
Yeah.
that are reserved for believers, for followers, because otherwise it doesn't mean anything. Like what is
Yeah,
it?
exactly.
Like there's three. I think there's three big sacraments in the church, and one of them would be baptism. The second would be the Lord's Supper, yeah, communion, Lord's Supper, and then the third
Communion.
would be the
Yeah.
washing of feet. And again, you don't do those. You don't do those three things. Right,
And
right.
that's a
Yeah,
tertiary one.
true.
And that's a tertiary one,
But
right?
again, I think context is is important because Jesus does it to his followers, people like people who are who follow him, who are within his circle. And so just as we wouldn't
Yeah, I'm not gonna just watch the feet of some like
exactly.
random person
It's
off
like
the
show
streets
this
like, hey, hey trans guy, I'm here to wash your feet, even though like I don't believe in anything you stand for. It's like
exactly.
that's
Just
not
the
the
same
point of
way
that.
that you wouldn't just randomly baptize somebody who doesn't believe, or you wouldn't have someone who doesn't believe that Jesus, in Jesus, to take up the Lord's Supper. Like there are certain things.
No, in fact, I would say like, no, if you don't believe, don't take in this because this is not that's a perversion of both those things. If you don't believe, like, then this is just you being dunked in a pool or whatever. And if you're taking the Lord's Supper, and biblically, uh, it's actually a very dangerous
Right.
thing to do if you're not a
Or even if
believer,
you're a
or if
believer,
you're in some sort
and
of
you're
whatever
in
sin you're
sin,
in.
unrepentant sin, and you take up the Lord's Supper, yeah, you bring about you are likely to bring about judgment on yourself. Yeah,
Yeah,
so even
it's
amongst
not a good
believers,
idea.
even if you're baptized or confirmed and you're a professing believer, but that you're in sin, or you're currently in sin, or you have unrepentant sin, like you shouldn't be taking the Lord's Supper.
Yeah,
because God being a holy God, you're in the Lord's Supper, you're symbolically taking the Lord's flesh, and the Lord's blood into you, becoming one. And so, in a holy God cannot be with an unclean being.
Yeah,
So yeah, I
it's
mean, so, and also, like, if it's for everybody, then it's from nobody, right? That's that this, as the saying goes.
yeah,
Kind of, like, kind of bringing it back to the Incredibles. The villain, Syndrome. He resented supers, because they had special powers, they had special abilities, and so through the use of technology, he's able to give himself special abilities, and what was his whole plan? It's like to make everyone super, because if once everyone is super, then no one is super.
yeah. And that's kind of the idea behind it. Like, this is no matter what these people do, like, this is something that will not
Mm-hmm.
go away. There will always be a remnant, no matter what these people decide to do. And the more that it gets suppressed and shut out from society and vilified, it'll strengthen the church.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, right? Because yeah, God is always making a remnant for himself. Like, it's the pattern, throughout the history of the world. You know, like from Noah to the tribe of Israel to the
Yeah,
formation of the church. Those are remnants. He's always using the
yeah,
least. So even amongst the supposed called people of God, there's going to be a remnant.
there'll
There's going to be
always
a
be a
remnant.
remnant till the end of time, when God comes back. There will always be a remnant,
Absolutely.
even if it's just a couple hundred people. There will be a remnant.
Indeed.
But yeah, I don't. I like I said, I don't know of anybody within my purview, or even anything I've seen online, that no one was
Mm-hmm.
buying into this. No one seemed either, well, one, at worst they were like
Mm-hmm.
disinterested. Or at best, people were just like,
Yeah, they saw through it.
there
They
was a lot
saw
of
through it.
vitriol against it. Yeah, it's like they see the wizardry. And I think there's a lot of people that are starting to see through a lot of the wizardry that's going on now, where there's so much disdain for whatever is being presented in the news or all this stuff. It's just like people are just tired of all of it.
Right, because I think some of the more sensible elements on the left, they're starting to see it. They're like, it's like we're lame now, or like our side is lame. There's not laughter. There's no joy on our side. And so they're starting to see through it. I mean, yeah, like maybe it doesn't bring them. Maybe it doesn't bring
Maybe on
them.
top of their mountain,
Maybe it doesn't bring them
they'll
to Christ.
yeah,
But they're starting to see, it's like, dude, we're lame. This Our side is lame.
maybe on top of the mountain, as they listen to Whoville, maybe their heart will grow 3 sizes that day. I don't know. Maybe.
Right? Because I mean, yeah, what is it? Like, I mean, I didn't point it out. I'm not the originator of this, but like, I don't know. It was like either Gavin McInnes or Paul Joseph Watson. He said the right is like, what is it? You can't be the counterculture and the majority culture at the same time.
That sounds like a
Yeah. Well,
PJW
no. Well, I know for
statement there.
yeah.
Maybe it's both. Yeah, I think
Either
both.
they
I
both
think both of
express
them talk
something
about somewhere.
similar. It's like, yeah, you can't be the counterculture and the majority culture, and conservative, or I don't know if this is true anymore, but at the time, conservatism is the new punk rock.
It kind of
And
is,
that,
yeah.
like, that's the whole, like,
It's
and not, and
dangerous to
again,
be
yeah, not
conservative.
the, like, dressing in like leather and mohawks and colored hair and things like that, but just the spirit of rebellion, you know, that punk
Yeah,
rock represented, particularly at the time, of its inception, kind of going against the more conservative, uptight middle American, kind of thing. Now it's kind of reversed. Now it's like the multicolored hair and the nose rings and the pussy hats. It's now like going back to like that more conservative, straight, buttoned up, straight
yeah. Now,
laced sort
now
of
it's Middle
thing.
America. That's punk rock. It's giving the finger to the elites on the coast. So yeah, it's just I think people are seeing through this stuff. Hopefully, that disdain will continue. And
Right. And then, yeah, but yeah, and I hope people don't expect things to, switch back, right away, because just as the more subversive elements on the left, they took decades to to get to this point, right? It's going to take us
mhm.
just as long to get back.
Yeah, you can't be like the DCEU and like try to hit like a
Right.
5-run home run to get things back to normal. You have to also it's going to take time to build things back to like some sort of normalcy. Um, but yeah, it's just. But I'm really kind of liking the
Mhm.
disdain that people are starting to
Yeah, I
show
was.
for. They're starting to like get through the wizardry and like, yeah, this is fucking stupid.
Yeah, yeah. I was
But
pleasantly
yeah, these people
surprised. Yeah, I
have.
was pleasantly surprised that people on both sides were, just saw through the crap and just, we the one time we both agree that this is BS.
Yeah, kind of surprising that that's kind of how it worked out. But was there anything else that you saw during like the Super Bowl like commercials or anything that kind of raised your dander a little bit, or was that like
That
kind
was
of
the
like
biggest one for sure.
the big commercials like
Because because it happened like
yeah.
pretty early on during the Super Bowl. Um, and I remember, because my church, holds a Super Bowl viewing party. Not every year, but this year we did. Um, and and when it came on, a lot of people were like, "Oh yeah, they're talking about God, way to go!" Kind of, and, they're more of like the unengaged, uninitiated sort. So it's like it wasn't a big deal, but like they just weren't aware of like that they were witnessing propaganda right now, or at that moment.
Yeah, which is that's like I said when people know the Bible, like they know it's like yeah, that's
Yeah,
not
and I
no.
and I did
And
my
then
part, and I'd
you
be
look
like,
into it,
no,
it's
that
like
group
yeah, this
sucks. Don't listen to them. Yeah,
is
I mean, I
well,
wasn't
that's
like
good.
I wasn't mean about it. I
Um,
just like, I just said like, yeah, that group is sketchy. I looked into them. Their theology isn't great. And so yeah. So hopefully, I
yes.
dispelled enough.
And you're being nice about it. I would have
Well,
said
I
it's like,
mean,
yeah,
I was
they're
at church,
fucking
so I
full of
could.
shit. Yeah, I know. No, I would say the thing is though, like I would have been the asshole that would have said it like that just to prove the point. Is
Right.
it's like for the shock value.
Yeah, but then I mean, like I mean, not to be big headed, but I am someone of regard at my church, and so I hopefully if my word means anything, people will take me seriously. When I speak.
That
So
well, that's true. But see, I'm punk rock now, so yeah.
Anyways, all right. Well, that's all I had to. Although I will say probably the funniest commercial, well, that's I guess aired, but I didn't see it. I later saw on Instagram was a CeraVe lotion commercial, and they had Michael Cera as their spokesperson. That was hilarious.
Oh yeah, that was so weird. Yeah. Honestly, that is a perfect role for him because that is how I feel about Michael Cera. He is CeraVe in the acting community.
Yeah, it was just so great. It's just like how long did it take them to that company to be like CeraVe, Michael Cera, and like bring those two together and like have him be one of their spokespeople and just do like this kind of.
That's like the Bublé commercial. They're doing what they did with like the
Oh yeah,
Bublé, and like
yeah,
they
yeah,
had like
yeah,
Michael
yeah, yeah,
Bublé as their
exactly.
spokesperson. Which is also a brilliant scheme. It's like, hey.
Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, why don't we get into our do we want to start with like talking about the AI stuff, or do we want to start with one of the movie reviews first?
Well, let's do the movie review first, or one of the movies first. Let's do Ex Machina first because I think
Okay.
uh, the what is it the AI thing will go much better with will much naturally flow better in with the her review. Yeah, so let's do Ex
Okay.
Machina first.
Sounds good.
All right, let me
All right,
just
sounds good.
hit
Let's do
everybody
it.
with the synopsis for Ex Machina, and we'll get going. Caleb Smith, a programmer at a huge internet company, wins a contest that enables him to spend a week at the private estate of Nathan Bateman, his firm's brilliant CEO. When he arrives, Caleb learns that he has been chosen to be the human component in a Turing test to determine the capabilities of consciousness of Ava, a beautiful robot. However, it soon becomes evident that Ava is far more self-aware and deceptive than either man imagined. Yeah, this movie came out in 2015. Alex Garland directing.
I don't know about you, but this was the first movie that uh I noticed. Well, one, Alex Garland as a director, Oscar Isaac as an actor, and this is like one of the first like A24 films that I remember. Like it was like, oh man, what is this company? This is a fucking great movie because it is a really good movie. And the other kid that wins the contest, played by Domhnall Gleeson. He's the son of a famous actor, Brendan Gleeson, who's been in a whole bunch of shit.
Actually, him and Oscar Isaac then go on to being in the Star Wars sequel trilogy.
That's right. That is right. Yeah, they were in that together too. But what did you think about? When did you come to Ex Machina? Was it? Did you come to it like when I did? Because I saw this in theaters actually.
Oh, I didn't see it in theaters. I did see it maybe like. When did this movie first come out?
I feel like this was like one of those limited release ones.
Yeah, I was still in school at the time. I didn't get a chance to watch it in theaters. I watched it later on, on demand or whatever. Like either like 6 months to maybe a year later.
Okay. Well, what was your reaction to it? What did you think when you first watched it? Was it shocking to you? Were you excited? Did it excite you? How did you feel about it?
Um, sorry, I just got an Amber Alert.
Stop kidnapping kids, Andy.
Well, if they wouldn't be, if they weren't so, if they would stop being so weak and feeble, making making them out to be
No,
such easy
it's
targets. No.
I know, right?
No. Yeah, no. I thought this was an interesting concept. And it's in this movie set kind of like present day, but like with slightly better technology. Um,
Yeah.
there's a classification for that for that kind of setup, but I can't remember it at the top of my head. I thought this was a really interesting movie when I first watched it. Um, I thought it posed some really interesting ideas, and the idea of like consciousness and what were the factors that went into consciousness, and and could could it being an artificial being be capable of feeling, let alone manipulation.
To yeah, that the characters here are interesting because you have Oscar Isaac, who is some sort of amalgamation of your tech giants who are uh just trying to create what damn the damn the consequences. We're just gonna create so that we can
Mm-hmm.
essentially be God, and we'll see what happens after that. But but he's also kind of a pathetic character as well, because maybe he thinks that he's so smart and above everyone else. That's why he hides himself
Mm-hmm.
on this compound where no one interacts. He has no interaction with real people. Um, and at the same time, you also have our other main character played by Domhnall Gleeson. And he's also a loner,
Yeah. Well, I
pathetic
mean,
dude.
he's isolated. Uh, he's an isolated figure. So the two characters are kind of mirrors of each other. One is kind of Oscar Isaac's character. His is more of egomaniac who thinks his genius causes him to like self isolate, as opposed to Domhnall Gleeson's character. He's more isolated because of external factors, like he's an orphan. Um, he's a young 20 something who's working at this firm, but like you know at his desk there's no pictures of like loved ones or what have you. Mm-hmm.
He has no girlfriend, no love. His parents are dead. His parents died when
Right.
he was like a baby. He has no outside of the work that he has. Probably has no interactions with anybody, and he's a smart kid, but he's not at the same level that um the Oscar Isaacs
Yeah.
character Nathan is. It's not they're
Mm-hmm.
not on the same level, but you also see both of them have the ability to be super manipulative as well. Nathan is extremely manipulative, but when Caleb he's trying to break Ava out later on, he ends up like manipulating the situation to his in the way that he wants. And what ends up happening is that the AI is was made so powerful that it was able to develop to the point past what its creators figured was going to happen. So it's and even Ava is manipulative as well. I mean, it's a chess game that's being played, and the computer wins.
Right. Yeah, it's Frankenstein, you know.
Yeah, there is a lot of it's Frankenstein. It's
You know, the
it's
yeah, the creator
like
had this intention,
whatever,
but
like
you know, but it, you know, the creation, you know, gets out of control and you know goes beyond what the creator had intended.
yeah, the yeah, and Nathan shows himself to be somewhat cruel to his creation, and the idea was with Ava. I don't know what the end goal was, but clearly he was creating sex bots for himself,
Mm-hmm.
which I can't imagine that what was the okay here? I mean, other than like just to
Mm-hmm.
fool the audience for the director fooling the audience. What was the point of Nathan manipulating Caleb and saying that he brought in somebody who was this foreign girl? I guess she was like Japanese, or supposed to be Japanese, and that she doesn't speak English. What was the point of that deception? Because we find out that she's
Right.
also an AI as well.
I think it's I think it might have been to what is it? Kind of throw them off. So it doesn't so it's no longer them two interfacing with each other, but like there's an option of a third interface. And so like what is
Mm,
it? So Caleb, yeah, that's the character's name. Caleb doesn't feel as alone because even in that situation where he's like he won this contest, so he could spend like a bros week with you know with with basically him and his boss, but it's still his boss. And so maybe the secondary robot girl was brought in to make him feel like that he wasn't alone. Like that it's like oh, it's like two subordinates to one boss.
maybe I was thinking like the
Or it could been like Caleb said, um, when he was talking about Ava, about like making her attractive, is like as that maybe the other robot was the distraction to the attractive assistant distraction.
oh yeah, you're right. I missed that. Yeah, the idea of the magician's
Mm-hmm.
trick of the attractive assistant. Yeah, and Kyoko
Mm-hmm.
is the attractive assistant that is
Yeah,
kind of
literal sense. Yeah.
you're thinking that she's yeah. I was gonna say it was more of the idea to keep Caleb focused on studying Ava and not like this other somewhat, I guess you could call her a failed
Mm-hmm.
creation because she's
Yeah,
like
she's
a
still like same made up of the
like
same stuff
a,
that
a, a
yeah,
beta model.
she's made up of the same stuff that Ava's made of.
But maybe it's not the same type of. It's not the similar brain
different software,
capacity
different
that
software.
Ava has. Yeah, yeah.
Less sophisticated.
But I just had to. Yeah, but I love the. But the touring, because we the different tests and you're trying to, there's these power outages that keep happening, and you're in this like weird compound, and you have Nathan, who is essentially building Caleb up. It's like, no, you're a good guy, you're a smart guy. I chose you for a reason, and it turns out that the reasons that he's saying are not true. He chose him for a different reason, and Ava is a pretty interesting robot who is also trying to find her own way out and using her sexuality as a way to uh, use Caleb to break herself out. And I always think I was uh, thinking of a line from the Night of the Hunter. Well, not a line from Night of the Hunter, but the idea behind why they chose Robert Mitchum for that role. And it's like, if you want to sell God, you have to be sexy. And Nathan, I think, thinks of himself as a god, and so his creation has to be sexy. That's how he sells himself.
Right, but also he could be
And so
playing
he's
on uh, just male biology in general, and like women tend to elicit more empathy, and so when Ava creates these moments, alone for to speak candidly with Caleb, he's more inclined to be empathetic with her and and feel her situation and try basically play Captain Save-A-Ho.
Yeah. Do you think that was the he was hoping that Ava would use Caleb as a means of escape? I mean, I mean, he kind of states that, but that was the end goal, right? Like he would, because he was expecting Caleb to be kind of that, try to white knight himself to save Ava, and that was the real test. It was testing Ava against a human to see if a human could be uh, lured into helping her versus Caleb trying to test to see if the AI is actually capable of real thought.
I would say so, yeah.
Oh man, it's and eventually like the what ends up happening is that the AI fucks them both over because Kyoko and Ava end up stabbing Nathan to death, and Ava utilizes the attractiveness, the attraction that Caleb has to her, and traps him in the house. Essentially essentially killing him too.
Right.
Because he's gonna die in
Right.
that
You
room.
steal. I
There's
mean,
no way for him to get
although
out.
there's that scene. There's that bit where he's like, he's hammering at the glass door, and yeah, it's probably really thick plexiglass. But I mean, he kind of like as soon as he cracks, he kind of puts in the first crack. He kind of gives up. And I'm like wondering. I'm wondering if that was
Well,
me and I was able to crack the glass. That'd give me more hope and like maybe try even harder to break the glass. But like he sees it, it's like, oh, it's not gonna
yeah.
break. Yeah, I even like cracked it. I'm not
But
gonna
yeah,
be able to break through it.
yeah.
Oh, there's no hope. I mean, but I understand. There's like Like
the other,
even if he was to get able to get out of that room, he's essentially sealed off in that house. I understand that, but
mm-hmm. And there's no way, like, he even if he does escape the house,
yeah, he's basically stuck out in the wilderness.
He's what, 1,000 miles away from anywhere.
True that. Yeah. Even if he were to get out of the house, he's still trapped in wilderness.
He's fucked.
Right.
He needs to get on that fucking helicopter, which is not gonna not nowhere to be found. It's like they're not coming back for him anytime soon. He's fucked.
Yeah. Although it's weird that it's all.
Maybe
do you
that's
think
why he
Ava
gives.
kills the
Maybe that's why
pilot
he
and
gives up.
escapes on her own? Because it's
that is a great question.
Like the pilot, he was given instructions, and he said, what was it? He was obviously told to go pick up Caleb, but then like this woman appears, randomly, and it's like, okay, yeah, I guess I'm taking this one back without really critically thinking. Yeah, or
that's a good question. To be honest, because we never really
see the pilot.
that.
We just see her in like approach the pilot and then like a cut scene to where the helicopter's taking off. We don't actually see them leaving together.
We don't see them leaving together, and we don't even really see, like, when we see Ava kind of just within humanity at the end, but it's more of like this noir style shot because all we see is her shadow and absorbing all that information of society around her, because this is the first time she's been in human society. So, that's a great question. I never thought about that. I don't know, man. I think maybe that helicopter pilot is dead. Either if she kills him beforehand and steals the helicopter, or after they land and fucks him up, so that no one knows that, like, wait, this is not the person that was supposed to come. You kill him or whatever, and yeah, that's a really good question.
Yeah, I mean, a part of me was gonna say like, oh, what if Nathan left instructions like, it's like you're either gonna pick up a guy or a girl.
That's the other thing too. Like, what did Nathan tell
the pilot? We don't know.
It's almost like was it the idea of, like, he knew that one of two things was going to happen. You're going to pick up either a guy or a girl. So let's say Ava is unable to manipulate Caleb to rescue her. Caleb leaves, right? So yeah, I think you're right. If Ava doesn't kill the pilot, it's because Nathan had already told the helicopter his pilots, like, hey, you're gonna either tomorrow morning or like in a couple days from now, you're either gonna pick up a girl or a guy. It doesn't matter which one.
Yeah. Although, yeah,
but it's gonna be.
But do you think
one?
That it would have been? I would imagine Nathan foresaw his own death. So maybe.
Oh, but he was never gonna. He's not. What does he need to leave the compound for? It's a self-sufficient compound that he has supplies flown to him every few months. So he's not gonna leave. What? But this was, he flew somebody out for a week, and
No.
he would. His
I'm
goal.
Saying, like, I don't think like he was intending to die as a result of Ava, gaining consciousness, passing the Turing test, or whatever.
No, that was the Frankenstein moment where Frank the monster overcame him to a degree that he did not expect.
I see.
That was the
Okay,
chaotic
so
part of it.
So Nathan always foresaw the one of two scenarios happening. Either Caleb doesn't succumb to Ava's manipulations, or he does and helps her escape. And so, like, when the chopper takes Ava, but it basically flies around a bit and comes back.
Yeah. But that's like when he does eventually, when he does get stabbed, it's like, get the fuck out of here. That was the first moment of shock in Nathan's life in a very long time. He had never anticipated this moment when he gets stabbed.
Okay, yeah, because that's right. That's why he was so surprised, because Caleb did all the preparations the night before.
Yeah, Caleb had done something that he did not anticipate.
Right. That's what it was. Yeah,
but then
because of the camera, he saw that what Caleb had planned, but Caleb had done it the night before when Nathan got wasted, and he was able to access the system.
Yeah. So one, Caleb was a little bit smarter than he anticipated, and then number two is that the AIs, both Kyoko and Ava, did something that he did not expect, and he did not expect both of them to stab him.
Okay. All right. Now we're on the same wavelength.
Yeah, so like when he's like get the fuck out of here, like he's just stumbling down the hallway. That was a true moment of shock in that he's had in a long time.
Over his world that he's so unaccustomed to anything going not according to plan.
Right.
Interesting.
And yeah, like I said, it is a Frankenstein's monster doing something that was not designed to do.
Okay.
And you also have a quote unquote the Caleb as the fellow scientist who also did something that was not anticipated as well. Maybe you could call him like the Igor, or like what the fuck is that actor's name that plays the fellow scientist? He also played like Van Helsing in Dracula. I can't think of his name right now, but that same character that is doing something, I've planned all this out, like you're gonna, he knew what he was gonna do, because he's also been observing him the entire time, and you're doing this and you're doing that, I know how you're gonna go, and yet at the same time he got fooled, and he didn't anticipate that Caleb had already taken care of his preparation at the final day, because he was just based off of the camera observations.
Well, yeah, but
not as
but Nathan thought that he had him pegged, because he was using, because he's basically data mining, the search engine that he created, and so he thought he knew Caleb, from his internet searches, and even doing some searches into his personal life. So he thought he had him pegged, as a certain type.
And that's also, and this will lead us into our topic too, is that maybe there is some hope because while that is a lot of powerful information that you are stealing from people, and that can tell you a lot about a person,
Right. It's not the
but it
totality of
can't
a
tell
person's
you
soul, like their
everything.
internet searches.
Yeah, based off of, even if you were listening into someone's conversations, that's not that is only without context what those conversations mean. When you're listening in on their phone calls, when you're tracking their internet searches, when you are only watching them at certain moments, that is not the true person. You're not getting the full context. And so you might learn a lot of information, but you're not going to get the whole picture. And this also goes back to what we were talking about a little bit. Rates. He is a creation who has observed creation for a long time, and he is a good judgment of character, but that doesn't mean that he knows all things and has all power. He has a good job of being able to predict how people will move, but that doesn't mean that that is exactly what's going to happen. And there's a lot of times where people react in a way that he does not anticipate, and that's exactly what happens here as well.
Interesting.
Because we're given Nathan as this super entity he's so smart, he has all this information at his hands, and he's a powerful figure,
Right.
which he is, but he doesn't know everything, and he got fooled.
Right. I mean, even think of like the setting. Like they're at his house. They're at like he has total control over his house and everything that goes on in it. But you know.
Right. He is a god in his own household to a degree, but even his
Right.
power
Like
is
his
limited.
omniscience is only so far. His omnipotence is only to a certain degree.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know. This movie, in some ways, gives me a little bit of hope, in that even like these super elitist characters who are trying to create all these AIs and whatnot, is that even they don't know everything. Stealing your information from your internet history and all that, and just mining all this information, that they don't know everything, and even they can anticipate how people will act in certain moments.
Anything else?
Um, no, I don't think I have anything else to say about this. Should we rate the film?
Yes. Let's do that.
I'm gonna give this a. I'm gonna give this a 4.5.
Okay.
I think this is I think that Oscar Isaac just knocks this out of the park. He is a great villain. I like the girl who plays the AI.
Alicia Vikander.
She's been in a bunch of other things since. Yeah, she's really good. And yeah, Donnell Gleeson is really good as Caleb. You don't have a whole lot of actors, but like they're doing these guys are doing this is essentially you're stuck in one place, and there's all this dialogue and stuff like that. And yeah, there's some impressive CGI and all that stuff, but overall it's people
Yeah,
acting in a
it's a
room.
stage play.
And Yeah, it's a stage play, and they're doing an amazing job. I really like this film. It was, I think this is the film that, for me, got A20. It kind of got people to notice A24. This is a film that got people to notice Alex Garland as a director because he's done some things since then. And I know Oscar Isaac has probably done stuff beforehand, but this is the film that got me to notice him. And since then, obviously, he's been in a whole bunch of shit that, he's become a really popular actor. So, yeah, I think this film's really, really good, and it has a lot to say. And the more times I watch it, the more I really like it. I mean, if let's say we come back in 5 years and talk about Ex Machina again, it might be a 5-star film for me. That's it. That's kind of where I'm at with it because it is pretty surprising and pretty shocking.
Yeah, for me, not as high as you, but pretty close. I'm gonna give this a 4. Um,
Okay.
mm, what is it? I wish there was just a little. Mm, I wish there was a little bit more development of Nathan. Um,
That's why I didn't give it a 5 because yeah, you want more of his. I would like to see more of his character, but yeah, I agree on
yeah, I
that a
mean,
little bit.
and it's not a huge thing, but we're just kind of, we're kind of dropped into this, but and we're never given any context of like why the like that contest was even a thing, or like it did Caleb uh, even apply for this like was it a drawing, or was it like just him making this announcement like hey, I'm gonna pick one employee to spend a week with me, or what, or was it
That's what
open?
that's kind of what I felt like. It was a random lottery that like no one
Right,
necessarily participated in. It
was it
was
just
just
like amongst his employees, or was it one of those contests where like everyone could could
I think it was I think it was just among the
okay.
employees.
Okay, I mean, it's not a
And he's also
terribly
like I think what was
it's not
so
like a pivotal thing that I know about, like this context, or like the mechanics, or like or the backstory of the context, but or the contest. But I would like a little bit more context.
I think it was also because he's this enigmatic figurehead
Hmm.
of the company, and maybe he's like a little bit like Howard
Right? Yeah,
Hughes,
that's
and
right.
there's it's very rare that
Yeah, I
people
mean, I
see
could
him.
see definitely see an amalgamation of you know certain figures. Yeah, like your Howard Hugheses, like maybe like a dash of Elon Musk, a dash of Steve Jobs. Um,
Yeah, that's why he fucks robots. Is because he's like Howard
it's
Hughes. It's
cleaner
like
that
it's
way.
cleaner that way.
Um, um, yeah, I would just like a little bit more. Even in like, I mean, I know this might sound cliche, but like little quick montage of voiceovers from like from from news anchors or something talking about uh, Nathan, and it's like, oh, he's holed up in his vast estate somewhere. Like, what's his next project gonna be? Um,
Right,
something
right, yeah,
to just give us a little foretaste of this Nathan character.
agreed. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, even just like a crumb more of information, or some sort of context, I think would have done wonders. At least for me personally, and for my enjoyment of the movie.
yeah. I agree with that. That's not that's a valid criticism of the film. Just you're wanting a little bit more. Like would like another 20 minutes, maybe diving into that a little bit. Just would that have been better for you? You think? I don't think to be honest, I don't think there was any like fluff in
No,
the
yeah,
film.
this is a very
I
tight
think it kind of
script.
got to the
You know,
point right away.
it's. I mean, in terms of budget,
Yeah,
it was minuscule, like $15 million.
yeah,
And it
it
doubled in budget.
doubled the budget.
Of
So.
course, not counting for advertisement and such, but it doubled its budget. So, um, yeah, I mean, it doesn't even have to be like as big a chunk as like 20 minutes, but like even 10 minutes of just something, you know, like
Okay.
clips of him like you know, like because Nathan's a futurist. He's someone who creates the future, and like him
Yeah.
talking about a vision for the future for his company or just society in general, I think would go a long way uh, to give him a little, just a crumb more context.
Okay. All right. Yeah, those are all valid criticisms, and
Yeah.
you're just wanting more. Which is hey, I'd want more of this movie too because I think this is an interesting dynamic, a world that's being created here, and yeah, could use a little bit more.
All right, folks. That's our review for Ex Machina. I give it a 4. Rob gives it a 4.5. Definitely a movie to check out. Especially if you want to engage your mind a little bit. Because this thing does because this movie does touch upon some pretty interesting questions, and I think and I would say important questions. Particularly, with the advancement of AI and thinking machines. Uh, I think these are important topics or certain important ideas to grapple with. And not just kind of to what is it to think about and to also quote Ian Malcolm from Jurassic Park is like you're so busy thinking if you could you failed to stop and ask like it's like do we have the right.
Yeah, I agree. Oh, there we go. But yeah, I think this also leads us into our next topic too, because we obviously AI has become one of those big topics, and it's gotten to the point where we saw the idea of Nathan, essentially creating sex bots, and because all of his creations were female robots,
Or at least they had the
and
form and shape
he's
of
clearly had
females.
form and shape of females, yeah, and he's clearly having sex with
Yes.
one of them. Uh, and nowadays we are also having, these prominent OnlyFans whores who are creating these AI generated, essentially sex bots that are interacting with extremely lonely men online for a premium price.
Yeah. Or at the very least,
And it's funny because
they're
both are
definitely utilizing AI. Um,
now to their defense. Hey, you know what? If there's going to be men who are stupid enough to fall for this stuff and pay for it, you know what? Good on them. They found a way to make money without having to do really anything. Um, but both our movies kind of talk about this because we have a group of extremely lonely and broken people who they don't know how to interact with anything real. I mean, to the point like where Caleb in Ex Machina, he starts to lose his humanity a little bit. He's like, am I real?
mhm.
And because the AI is so real, he even questions his own humanity. and where he like has to cut open his wrist just to see if he bleeds blood. But we have a couple of things that are interacting with one another. We have a society that we've gone to a matriarchal society. All the laws
I wouldn't say matriarchal,
to
but I would definitely classify as gynocentric.
what well, here's why I say what I say, because what laws help men in any way? When it comes to anything like family related, assault related, anything like that, what is actually helping men? It's all catered to women.
Well, I mean, I guess my contention
And
is,
even if you're innocent, it doesn't
my
matter.
contention is the definition of matriarchy is, would be a society run by women for women.
I mean, we're getting
Yeah,
to
but
that
still,
point.
vast majority of political positions and leadership roles are still by men. So, yeah. So, I mean, for me, I would classify
No, men,
men, but I would still I would classify it more as gynocentrism.
gynocentric. Okay, that I will accept your terms, but we have gotten to that point of society where it has been dangerous to engage with the opposite sex. Thank God I'm no longer in the dating pool.
Sell
And
out.
yeah, I know. It's like I'm not one of you
Yeah,
anymore.
leave me for the
But
sharks,
I
asshole. Leave me
understand.
for the sharks.
I know. But it's a dangerous place to go, because who knows? Like, you just say like fuck you say hi to one person, it's like he touched me. You get someone crazy enough, and all of a sudden your whole life is ruined. You essentially almost have to like move to another state and change your name just to avoid whatever bullshit accusation has been confronted you, even though you're innocent, and even in a court of law you're proven innocent. It's too late by then. Your reputation is ruined. So you have guys that have completely checked out of the dating pool, and so a lot of those guys have turned probably are the ones that are turning to the AI generated stuff, or because they have been so whipped by the gynocentric society that we live in. It's like, oh, I can't actually go up to a woman and say hello and say that I'm interested. So, but yeah, I'm attracted to women, but I'm gonna be a weird creepo online, and oh well, I guess porno is the only way I can interact with women. And they have this, you end up creating a generation of creeps, but they also crave real interaction with women, or a facsimile of that. And that's where we're at now with like you have these, they're not quite porn stars, but they're not, they're whores, but they've created these AI online sex bots that you can interact with and have a quote unquote relationship with. And I don't know, man, it's creepy, dude. I in one sense I kind of get it, and but man, the fact that people are just hook, line, and sinker are these. First of all, these women are at least one of the top ones. She's making like $20 million or something, like some crazy amount of money just from that.
Right. But even the purported
Which
like
is
top
insane.
creators on OnlyFans, it's because that it's they like to make it seem like OnlyFans is a cottage industry, but there's a
No,
huge
no, it's not.
support system, and kind of like the same system as like Hollywood with like agents and promoters and things like that. Um, so it's not so even so
Like I
like
said,
I know
that
OnlyFans has this reputation of being you know private business and enterprise and cottage industry. It's not. It's not.
it's not
All the OnlyFans
because it's
models you think about like that are known, like they have like this huge machine backing them, that are helping out with their
oh
SEO, that
yeah
are
no
helping to
so
get their
the
that are managing their IG accounts, and like they're handling their message replies. It's all deception. It
yep
really is.
yeah no it's because whenever there's some sort of like leakage of these people's accounts. Oh well, I had it's my agent or like such and such. They took care of it for me. It's like so you're not
Right.
really doing your own thing.
Yeah,
It's clearly
it's
like someone
farmed out. Like it's
is
farmed out.
helping you,
Kind of like the
which
job that
is
Joaquin Phoenix character has in Her, where I mean, I'm jumping ahead just a little bit, but um, his job in the movie is to write these heartfelt, personal letters, but for other people, and so that's just
oh, we're gonna get to that. It's like as far as like you can't people who can't have real interactions with one another. That whole society that is in that movie cannot interact with real people. That's one of the big
right.
issues in that society. But that's kind of like what is happening here. We have a facsimile of real interaction that's just not there. A lot of these horrors that these guys interact with, um, you're not really interacting with them to a degree. I mean, yeah, I'm sure there's a few of them that you do, but you're not really having a relationship with them. You're
Right.
paying them money
And
to
yeah, and that's actually the most evil part of it. I think it's the parasocial relationship where these men, you know, they're give these women money, and they think that that they actually give a shit about them, that like they actually care about like how their day went or how their
they don't.
job is going, or if they got the promotion at work, or how that weird growth on the back of their neck is doing. Like these women don't care, and that's what's dangerous, because you're that's what you're slow dripping this hope to this false hope to men, and and it just goes to show you like why uh, platforms like OnlyFans are succeeding. Because it's like because it's like, oh, like it's people are making millions of dollars. Like, yeah, well, why do you think that is? It's because men, certain men, aren't getting the normal interaction that a man would usually get. I mean, not like let's say that men would normally have gotten like 40 years ago.
Well, you also have to think, and that's why I brought up what I brought up earlier is because it starts with you create a toxic environment that where men are vilified for showing any sort of like interest in women, and so you have like that you create that, and where a lot of the laws cater towards such women, and even if you are found innocent, your reputation is ruined forever. Like you're never gonna recover from that. Like we talked about that with uh the the Bauer thing, the Dodgers former Dodgers pitcher who essentially lost out on several almost $200 million
Mm-hmm.
from his contract because some bitch decided that she wanted to take his money,
I mean,
take him
yeah,
for his money,
I mean, I
and
don't, not that I not that I have issue with you calling her a bitch, but like let's call her for what she really is. She's a predator. Because this isn't the first time or the first person that she's done this to.
No, but that's why would that guy ever interact with another woman again? At least in America, because uh, I wouldn't. I'd be like, fuck this. Yeah, the only thing that comes from this is I'm just gonna end up losing money. Some crazy bitch is gonna. I make a lot of money because I'm a good athlete, and that's all they care about. That's all they're after. And so you don't there's like you kind of check out on the dating pool, and you one of the key facets of life is finding a spouse and getting married and having a family and growing old together, which used to be it's never been a perfect thing, but it's a key factor in society. In building a good society is having families, and these people have ruined that forever. And so now you have a whole slew a group of people who no longer want to interact with real people, but they still need that interaction with something. And now that this is what has been created, is this facsimile of interaction, but it's a predatory uh, facsimile of interaction, because it's all money
Yeah, it's
generated,
inauthentic.
and it's not a whether it's you're interacting with the real person or you're interacting with some sort of like robot or some sort of agency, you're not really having a relationship with somebody. But yeah, I don't know. It's just it's kind of disturbing, and I see it as a huge danger to society eventually.
Hmm.
It's like with Futurama. It's like, well, I don't have time to do all that stuff because I want to make out with my Marilyn Monroe bot.
Yeah. Yeah, another show that was like kind of predicting the future. Uh, but I mean,
Dude,
again, I'm not,
you're sick.
I'm not standing for porn or nothing. But in a perverse sort of way, it'd be better if men were just jerking their meat to pornography.
Yeah.
Because then because I mean, especially now with like porn being as ubiquitous as it is, like I mean, it's available like on our phones in 4K at all times of the day. But like think platforms
Yeah.
like OnlyFans, that offer that parasocial relationship. That's the danger. That's what's dangerous. Because because you start thinking that this person gives a shit about you, but she doesn't, or it doesn't, because a lot again AI and chat farms. Rajesh, in India, doing this, he doesn't get he Rajesh doesn't give a shit about you, all right?
Oh, speaking of OnlyFans too, and because I keep getting these stupid ass advertisements on like my Twitter feed and shit like that, and I think because the OnlyFans community is like, oh well, we're tired. We're not a porno site. No, it's about like you have people who are creators and they wanna just put their content out there. They're really like they're trying to flip that idea out there again, because now they have some sort of thing called like OnlyFans TV, and it's like, oh, see, like we got a whole thing on like comedians, and we have reality shows. But you know who's on those like reality shows? They're all porn stars. It's just like there's like this cooking challenge thing that they have on OnlyFans apparently, and it's like all the people that are competing in it, they're all porn stars. I'm like, what the fuck is that? So you've kind of sure there's this it's a content driven site, but all your content creators are porn stars.
Yeah, and
So I don't.
yeah,
It's like
I don't get this attempt at rebrand. Uh, especially like before, when they're trying to get investors. They started pushing out like, oh
yeah.
no, it's like our site is more than just porn. It's it's fitness instructors and cooking and people cooking enthusiasts and yada yada yada. But it's just like
Yet all the people that are involved, they're
exactly
all
like
like
it's
the
like
big
yeah,
porn
but like
stars that are on OnlyFans that are
who are
like
your
they're
highest
top
earners?
creators.
Do they do their best work? Do they do their best work on their back?
Porn stars. Yes, they do.
All
They
right, then
do.
okay, then it's yeah.
It's like,
Is forever associated with pornography and and the like. There's no more
well, it
there's
was the
no more
same.
disassociating it from
It's the same thing with like whatever like Snapchat used to be like, and now I don't know if
it.
it's still
Essentially,
that
yeah.
same thing, but Snapchat for a long time that was also like, oh well, I can send naked pictures to whoever it is, but they can only see
Right,
it for
but
like
then
5
there's also
seconds.
the premium Snapchats where you have to pay money for them.
Yep,
And it's not
and that this blossomed into
it's not that
OnlyFans.
that they disappear after a certain time frame. You could screen. There's such things as screenshots. And what is it? There was this one OnlyFans creator who got pissed off because people were leaking her stuff on the internet for free.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Like the same like OnlyFans people were getting pissed about that, and then they have oh, it's like, no, but I'm just an independent creator. It's like, but then they would have their management companies go after these people. It's like, so
Yeah,
you're not an
exactly.
independent
Yeah.
creator. Is what you're saying. It's like you're that, which is fine. Hey, you got to
Yeah, your
protect
bottom line. I get it.
your
Yeah.
business. I get it. Like I'm not, but you can't claim
Yeah,
that
you
you're
can't
an
say that you're like
independent
some
person
mom and
that
pop
is
porn producer.
yeah. It's just it's like, come on, guys.
Right.
You can't have it both ways. Yeah, maybe you're not part of like you're independent as opposed like you're not
Yeah, you're
as
not
a
like
part of like
a
one of
studio. Yeah,
the top
you're not a
studios.
studio worker.
Yeah, you're not a contract player in the porn industry. You're you're independent to a degree, but yeah, you still have a management company. Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, and I titled this.
It's such a
I titled this section. Yeah, girlfriend
what'd you title
experience.
this?
That's what they're selling you. And again, yeah,
That's the whole
that is
point
the whole point.
is, and you see these people's like profiles too. It's like, oh well, I do private one-on-one chats, and I give you this and that, and it's like, yeah, but these dudes are lonely, and you're selling them something that like they can't actually really have,
Mm-hmm.
which is to be with somebody. And the sad part is that these guys or gals, they don't know how to interact with people.
Yeah.
Because our social skills nowadays, like with the current generation, is next to fucking zero.
Yeah, it's really sad.
But yeah, really sad. But speaking of sad, we should talk about our next movie, Her.
All right, let me hit everyone's synopsis.
Because yeah, this is a fucked up movie, man.
All right, here's the synopsis for Her from 2013. Directed by Spike Jonze. A sensitive and soulful man earns a living by writing personal letters for other people. Left heartbroken after his marriage ends, Theodore becomes fascinated with a new operating system which reportedly develops into an intuitive and unique entity in its own right. He starts the program and meets Samantha, whose bright voice reveals a sensitive, playful personality. Though friends, quote unquote, initially, the relationship soon deepens into love.
Oh boy. First of all, I want to talk about like Spike Jonze's, or not Spike, uh, Joaquin Phoenix's character, Theodore's job. So we have the whole society, the society that they live in. You have a whole, just what we talked about. You have a whole group of people, even people who are dating or are married, who can't interact with one another. So they have Theodore, or like the company that he works with, these group of people who are writing letters, love letters between people. And it's called handwrittenletters.com or something like that. And yet none of those are written on any sort of letterhead. They're not written by hand. They are dictated to a computer, and the computer prints them out, and those letters are sent off. So right away you have a society that can interact with each other, even the people who are supposedly in love with one another. And because those people either don't live in the same area, and so they are having these online interactions, but they're in different cities or they're away all the time. So there's actually no interaction. And the person that is most in tune with their relationship is not the two people that are in it, but it's the dude that's writing the letters. Theodore is more in tune with their
Right,
relationship
because
than
what
they
is
are.
it? He shares that he's been writing for certain individuals like for multiple years, for years,
For years.
and so like yeah, so
Yeah.
he is in a way involved in all of these people's relationships.
Yeah, because this is the second time I watched the movie, and that I really honed in on that part this time around. I was like, his job
Yeah,
is fucked up because yeah, it's like, but like the society is messed up that he's a part of, because he he knows their relation, he knows them more than they know each other. These people that he's
right. I
writing
mean,
letters
if
for.
you yeah, because in the very opening scene, he's writing for this couple like that seem like they're older, but he's still writing for them, and it's like and especially if they're supposed to be part of this generation that probably looks down on like younger people and be like, all those darn kids and like their technology and like their their crazy music, like but
So
they
I think that
themselves are having an issue communicating with each other.
so here's what I'm thinking, like, because this is a
Right,
futuristic film. I would say that this is maybe 50 years from us.
from
So
2013.
that older couple is a Gen
From
Z
2013.
couple. Yeah. So let's say that this is
Okay.
2063, when
Okay.
this film takes place. So that older couple, that's a Gen Z
Mm,
couple.
true. That's a good point.
Because Yeah, there is the idea of like, yeah, back in the day, back in like the early 20th century and the 19th century, where you would have people who are separated because of whatever situation, but they would write letters to each
Yeah.
other and they would interact that
Like
way.
war, one person moves away, whatever reason. But yeah, but people used
But there is a
things are
real
different.
correspondence. You are talking to somebody and getting a
Mhm.
response back, almost like talking on the
Yeah,
phone with
yeah.
somebody.
What is it? That movie uh, with Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan. It kind of delves in that. You got mail.
You got mail?
Yeah, because like what is it? Yeah, Tom
I haven't
Hanks's
seen that, by the way.
grandfather, like when what is it? When Tom Hanks's character is talking about like how he met this girl in the chat room and they would exchange emails, and the grandfather would reminisce about back in my day we called that that we wrote letters to each other.
Yeah,
And he would talk about how like he got like these the most
and
beautiful letters from this girl that he used to knew way back when.
yeah, but the problem is like in this society is like it's not that these two people, whether they're separated by uh by distance,
Right,
is
their
but
distance, their
they're not
separation
also writing to
is
each
an
other.
emotional one. It's an
They're
emotional, yeah.
using a surrogate. Yeah, because you're using a middleman to essentially I can't I couldn't put into words what I need to say to this person, so you do it for me because I can't interact. And in the same way, Theodore is also of this generation who also cannot interact because yeah, he was married, but he to his admission, he couldn't he could not express whatever
Mhm.
problems that he was having. He couldn't express his desires or his anger or
Yeah, or
whatever
even
his
just this
problems were to
dissatisfaction.
his wife, who yeah, and I don't know if his wife was maybe a little bit more old school because because she like makes fun of him as like you're dating a fucking computer. What are you fucking kidding me?
Right,
That's
yeah, like she
stupid.
does, yeah,
So
she does
there's some.
go,
I mean,
she
there's
does do that reductionist thing where it's like you're dating your computer.
right, but I mean, she obviously she has her problems. Like, listen, like I'm not some perfect entity. Like I have issues. I go through depression. I have these problems, and so not every day is going to be like this great
Hmm.
fun experience. Um, and but you clearly can't deal with that, and because you're so caught up in your own neuroses, which is yeah, there's a lot being said in here, and then you have this guy is so lonely, where he's interacting in chat rooms with people who are also really fucked up. Like the chick
Yes,
that he
sexy
talks to,
kitty.
like where like they're having this normal conversation. Yeah, it's like this sex chat room. It's like
It's like
I want you to
what
choke
about
me
the
with
dead
that
cat?
dead cat by you. It's like
Yeah,
what the fuck is
they're
going
basically
on
having phone
here?
sex, and it's like oh, what about the dead cat? And and in his mind, his mental pornography is this uh it's so weird. This pregnant like starlet, who posted like risque photos of herself naked, while pregnant, and that's the thing that he's thinking about as he's like working his meat, and then all of a sudden, yeah, the this who I thought it was Anna Faris, Chris Pratt's wife, but it's Kristen Wiig.
It's
But
Kristen
anyways,
Wiig.
yeah, but they're having phone
Yeah,
sex, and again, like
I thought the
because
same
like
thing actually. Yeah.
she doesn't have a filter, or she doesn't know how to or maybe it's like she's so numb, like she doesn't have to like uh or maybe like because the men in this society are so lonely that they're willing to put up with her outlandishness, talking about like, oh, what about the dead cat? It's like, oh yeah, the
I know, but she is also lonely because she's a
That's true.
fucking weirdo. These,
You
like I
know
said,
what?
men and
That's
women do
the
not
what.
know how to
See, that's the
interact with
one
one
part
another
where
in this
I can't
society.
lend credence to because um, I don't care what the society is. Women are going to be women, and women will not be hard up to have sex. I think that's the one part like I cannot suspend my disbelief.
Was that your
Not
problem with this
problem,
movie?
but I would say that is a chink in the armor. Like this idea that even like women are fucking or these women, are so neurotic or and so uh, not socialized that that they can't even find sex partners. I think that's a bridge too far. That's
I
a bridge too far
see.
for me. For me.
I Here's the thing. I I'm not. I would say with the direction that we're going, we're gonna have a bunch of men just check out. They're just like, fuck it. I don't need sex. There's porn out there. I don't even want to be involved with these freaking people because of the legal consequences that the gynocentric society is starting to create. And 50 years from now, I could totally see this happening where like now the women don't even know how to interact with men because
No, no, no. See,
the
no,
previous
no, no. See,
generation
because
fucked it up for
that's
them.
where I divert because women will never have a problem finding sexual partners. Okay, first and foremost, they'll never have a problem with sexual partners. Yes, will they be able to find people to marry them? Probably not. I'll grant you that. But in terms of like this movie depicting a society where people like are so like incapable of communicating that they're not even when the women aren't able to you know
Well, we have a society now that's incapable of
granted
communicating.
but the idea that a woman cannot find someone a sexual partner even if she's not like particularly attracted to this person I is something that I can't buy because a woman does
Oh
not have
man,
to
I
work
don't know.
that hard to get laid.
Yes, like if we're
No,
talking about like
no,
today, that is very
regardless of the
true.
date and time.
I'm just saying, like I think that
No,
this is
but
a
like
very
no. See, the
plausible
only
thing
thing like I would
that is going to
contend
be
is that
happening.
um, it would cause women's delusions to get worse, and so or like women's okay, they'll be they'll be socially fucked up, but not in the way that you're thinking. I'm in the way that you're thinking about it. I'm thinking about it in the way that met like yes, there'll be certain men who just completely check out. They want nothing to do with women. They're not even try attempt to get in a relationship. But there will still be those more simpy men who are willing to indulge in the delusion of women. So much of the fact that sexy kitty in the movie is able to just outlandishly say, "Oh, what about the dead cat? Choke me with the dead cat." And get her rocks off and because
Well, that is
yeah, but
Theodore
I'm saying that
is a
like
weirdo.
that the men will become so simpish and not be able to have any standard. Like the portion of men that stick it out and try to gain at the very least sexual access to the women, like there'll still be that remnant of men and which will only feed into the women's delusions and they'll become to the point of like Asperger's like like and don't care as long as like they get off.
Okay. All right. All right.
Yeah, so that's my contention.
But yeah, let's talk a little bit
That's the
more
only
about
contention that
Theodore.
I'm bringing up.
Okay. All right. Well, let's talk a little about Theodore, our main characters, because we've talked about his job, but him as a person, he had a real relationship. He was married to someone that he grew up with, and kind of had a strong connection with. Yet, because now, do you think it was because of him that they ended up getting divorced, or was it because of her, his ex-wife?
I think both had a hand, in the failure of their marriage. But I would say that it.
Okay.
I mean, again, these are my values, but I think it's Theodore's fault in that he wasn't able to properly lead his wife.
Oh, that's true. Like, he could, because it doesn't. Yeah, he doesn't seem like a leader in anything, and yeah, he also he to his admission too was unable to communicate his feelings and what he needed as a person, whether those needs are outlandish or whatever, but he was never able to actually communicate with
Like,
his
yeah, he
wife.
couldn't even ask. He probably even couldn't even tell her to make him a sandwich. And it's like, and a lot of people like, oh, the patriarchy much. It's like, it's just a fucking sandwich. Like, it's like, oh, you don't
It's like,
love,
oh,
you
would you be
don't
able to make
love
me
your husband
lunch?
enough to make him a sandwich when he asks. You know.
Yeah, it's just like if my wife asked me to make her a sandwich, like, yeah, okay, I can do that, no problem.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just
Or
fucking
just, or like,
food.
yeah,
Like, just there's things that she makes that are better than I can make them, and
yeah, or
vice
like,
versa.
if your wife asks you, oh, could you please, like, move my car into the garage, or something physical, right? What because when men ask for something, it's usually in like meeting like their need for like either food, sex, or not really, that's really all it is. Food or sex. That's really all like men ask to be satisfied in with. But when women ask for something, it's something like a little bit more, and it's like some usually like some sort of service and like some kind of labor. And so
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
so like if you don't, yeah,
So okay, you see it more as a mutual thing, but probably more leaning towards
yeah, or
Theodore being
not
the
the
problem.
problem, but like his inability to lead his wife, like he has the responsibility, but they're both at fault. He has a
Yeah.
responsibility of his marriage failing, but they're both to blame.
Here's the thing, though, is that Theodore is so bad at relationships, he fucked up the relationship with his fucking
There you
computer.
go.
It's like that.
Yeah.
It's like that in reality, which is also really sad. I mean, because this dude cannot. I don't think this, outside of Amy Adams's character, I don't think he's had like one significant relationship since he broke up with his wife. He doesn't interact with people at all. Barely. I mean, hardly. And in reality, no one in this society, from what we see, really interacts with
Right. I
anybody.
mean, well, yes, but
Everyone's on their phone.
but when they do
Everyone's like,
interact, it's within their friend group bubble. Because even the scene when they go to the beach, like he's there by himself. I mean, with Samantha, but he's by himself. But he's surrounded by people who are kind of clustered together in small groupings. So I mean, so if people are interacting,
oh, like when you,
but just you know,
oh, see, I saw it because you see everyone with like the thing in
yeah,
their
the earbud and like looking down at
ear
their phone. Yeah.
with like whatever their device is. Yeah, that's what people are interacting with. They're not
Okay, so you mean like
interacting
an
with
actual interaction? Okay.
actual people.
Mhm.
Actual interaction.
Okay, fair enough.
Face-to-face interaction. That's
Right.
not what's
Okay.
happening in this society.
Gotcha.
But yeah, he ends up because he's so lonely. He ends up like, oh well, there's the new OS
Yeah, the
one.
first
It's the
AI OS.
you know the yeah operating system one, and so he ends up buying this thing, and he can't even like they ask him like simple questions, and he can't answer them. He gives them like some sort of
Right. It's a roundabout way,
and
or
even the
not. It's
computer's
not
like,
direct. It's not direct.
yeah, and even the computer gets fed up with like him listening to his bullshit excuses, so they just answer for him because they don't want to. It's like,
Right.
okay,
You're a
got it.
pussy. Gotcha.
It's like,
Here's your OS.
and yeah, so then we get the OS, which is Samantha, voiced by Scarlett Johansson, and yeah, it's this. He develops this relationship with his operating system, which is also it's not just Theodore and Samantha having these type of relationships, but it's become such a I think this movie takes place over what, maybe a couple of years, because there's other people who have developed relationships with these OSs where they're dating them or
Well,
marrying
yeah.
them or
I don't know if
whatever.
it's a couple of years. It's kind of
And
hard to
so
track time in this because no one changes like their look, or there's no indicators like a calendar. So everything seems more immediate. But yeah. I mean, you might not be wrong about like the years thing.
yeah, it's one of those things where I don't yeah, no one changes their look, but things change because his friend Amy, played by Amy Adams, she gets divorced from her husband after just like cuz they can't deal with each other. You have the AI Samantha, who's constantly changing as an AI. You have other people interacting with these OSs who are dating them, and
Just like having
there's
relationships.
that to get to that yeah, to get to that point where the AI is progressing, that takes some time, at least a little bit of time. Um, Now the other thing that like is also an intriguing theory is, now is this OS1, is this just one giant artificial intelligence that is interacting with everybody in but with different voices and and they're able to interact with all these people who are interacting with it in different ways at different times, but because Samantha talks about how, well, I'm actually talking to like 8,000 people right now. How many are you in love with? Like 86 of them. So is this like the same interface that is interacting with all these people who are that have bought this OS, or are these different AIs
Well,
that are their own
well,
separate
the
entities?
selling
That's the
point,
other
the
question.
selling point of the OS was that it would be unique to the user. And so each OS would then be tailored to the individual user. So not so each person would have like the basic, uh, you know, basic skeleton of the OS, but the personality and specification would be unique to that user. So it's just like it would
Okay,
just
all
be
right.
like our own computer OSs
So
where
every
we all
OS
like
is a,
we might all have Windows. We
so
might all
every
have
OS is a
Windows,
different
but
entity.
you might have I might use a standard background picture, while you might use like some fancy animated one, and our icons may not be uh, ordered in the same way, or some variation thereof.
But then you'd also have these OSs interacting with other people and then having relationships with other people that are not
Right. Well,
the people who bought them.
just like I mean, because that's kind of what that's what our computers do anyways. Like our OSs interface with, if it's connected to the internet, it's connecting, to, the computer at Google or the computer at Facebook, or the computer at Amazon and so on and so forth. So I think in that similar way,
Mm. Oh yeah,
the OSs in her, do the same thing, but they're artificial intelligence, so they have personalities, or they're able to connect and interact with people, more personally, as opposed to in the background.
So do you think that that's why? Do you think that that is why Samantha is so neurotic? Is because of her interactions with Theodore?
Mm, possibly, yes. Right? Because I mean, who's the first person that she interacts with is or a lot of I'm sure a lot of the OSs, they pick up on the initial users, mannerisms. Like even when like she sighs, she's software. She yeah, she does
She's picking that
exactly.
up
She doesn't
on because
require
of Theodore.
oxygen. She doesn't have a respiratory system, but because she observed Theodore, sighing uh, so many times, that she incorporated into her own personality.
Mm. Yeah, the other thing that was also interesting too is it seems like I don't know, there is definitely a an element of Pinocchio in here as well, because it seems like Samantha wants to become a real person, dreams of having a real body, being a real person. Um, and to the point where she even because her Samantha and Theodore are having some issues as far as communicating and like with their weird relationship. And so Samantha interacts with somebody online who is communicating about their relationship and like how they have this like really great love relationship. And she's also so this woman that they find, or that Samantha finds, is also just so inept at relationships, and she loves the fact that they just love each other no matter what, and she just wants to be a part of it. And so she's willing to let Samantha use her to be used for sex for Theodore, to pretend like she's Samantha. It's that whole thing
Yeah, the convolution of
is so
relationships is just it's just
fucked up.
yeah.
I'm telling you, we are on that track right now. We are
Well, I
we're
mean,
headed in that
what do you
direction.
think thruples are?
Well, I mean that's kind of what it is. That I mean that this is an electronic version of thruples,
Mm-hmm.
but to the point like where this is it's horrible. It's like what the fuck is going on here? And
Yeah.
to Theodore's credit, he's like, "Yeah, I can't do this. This is your lip quiver." It's like this is not. I can't do it. And that's kind of like what fucks up the what turns Samantha into how she interacts with how she transforms as an AI, and Theodore kind of goes down this path, his like more neurotic path that he goes down to, because he can't handle that.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. I was actually having a problem with the timeline, because everything seemed happening so quickly, and the way that uh, like relationships with the OSs seem like so commonplace until you brought up the idea that this was happening over like a couple of years. Um, I was thinking to myself like, dang, this is like, how could they be like so accepting of this in such a short time? Uh,
It has to be.
yeah, and fair, and you made you made a fair point that like the amount of time that that this can eat, but even 2 years is relatively fast in computer time. Because how quickly they're able to intake information and then make adjustments.
But
But
here's the thing, though. Why I only say it's like 2 years is yes, people get it because you have people who feel that they're getting having these relationships with these operating systems, these AI entities. But even like when it's spoken, it's like I heard that there's someone they're actually dating their OS, and it's like this like kind of secret. Like when Amy Adams is talking about it, it's like I heard like my friend is actually dating her OS. It's not like spoken out loud. It's like, oh yeah, of course. But it's like it's kind of this like very like taboo type of thing. But then but then there's this interaction with Chris Pratt's character. It's like when Theodore says like, yeah, my girlfriend's she's the OS. Like, oh, cool, man. So
right, and
the
that's what threw
but
me. That's
here's
what threw me because
but
well,
I think between that point there's several years because he's not dating anybody for a while. He's kind of by himself and he's so infatuated with like how Theodore is able to curate these letters for couples that clearly he can't do. But he's finally able to interact with somebody enough to develop a relationship with somebody in real life. But then when Theodore talks about and there's like, oh yeah, I heard, Samantha sounds really awesome because I talked to her on the phone because I think Chris Pratt's character is a secretary at that company, and oh, Samantha sounds real cool, man. And it's like, well, oh, she's an OS. Oh, okay, cool. Like he's just kind of like goes with the flow. But at that point, it might have been like more commonplace. And you also have to remember that these AIs are moving at such a rapid pace and it becomes so commonplace that maybe the time span, while it seems quick to us nowadays, for that, this is 50 years down the road, it's not that far fetched for that society.
right, but the timeline is still kind of messy for me because that there was already this the surrogate. Let's just call it the surrogate. Like Samantha was able to find the surrogate so quickly. Like this was even before the revelation that uh, Theodore was having a relationship with Samantha. That eventually did came out when Chris Pratt's character was asking about her.
Well, think about it, in the Bible, you had surrogates too. That
No,
you
no,
would
no. But
have
I'm
like
saying
these.
but there was already, but like how quickly, there was this adoption of this, the even the concept of having surrogates being part of these, OS relationships.
Well, there's weirdos who will. You go down those deep Reddit pages, man. There's some fucking weirdos on there that will. Fuck it, yeah, I'll have sex with some random person. Like, and you want me to? You sounds like this is a couple in love, but then they want to have me, like their significant other wants to watch them have sex with me or whatever, or do some sort of weird kinky role play. There's some people that are into that.
Right, but
I don't know.
the acceptance of the OS as a person, as a sentient being, and just kind of in just like it's
Okay,
that's
so that part
the
bothered you a lot.
acceptance part of of the OSs is what is in the
I think.
time frame. That's what's tripping me up because it's again to your credit,
Mm.
you make a good point. This probably happened in a course of 2 years, but in the way that this movie is plotted out, it seemed like it happened like at least within let's say 8 months to a year.
Yeah, I mean the timeline's a little messed up, but you also this movie you're either you buy into what's being said and you don't care about it, or you're out. Like you buy in,
Well,
you're out.
also
Um,
because of Theodore's ex's response to him having a relationship with the OS, it feels like there's still people who are not about it, who are kink shaming, um, and so that and so it seems
yeah,
that's what makes the timeline seem messy for me. Or
but after it's when he starts dating Samantha, it is more on the DL, and it's when he's talking with his friend, when she's kind of like, she whispers to him, it's like, yeah, I've heard that there's people that are actually dating their OSs. Have you heard about that? It's like, yeah, actually, I'm dating my OS. Like, oh my god, that's so great, Theodore, because she's kind of more on the progressive side. But then, like, when he's like, when he's feeling good about himself by dating Samantha and they're having a good time and he's feeling confident, that's when he's like, you know what, I need to sign those divorce papers. But you know what, like, I think I need to do it in person. And even Samantha's like, do you think that's a good idea? Well, we've done all this other stuff in person. Like, we grew up together, we got married in person. It makes sense that we should at least, get divorced face to face and sign the papers. Yeah, that makes sense. But she's more of the old school. And when he says, like, oh, you seem like you're doing okay, and like, thing you this you're kind of like the guy I remember about. And he's like, oh well, yeah, Samantha's been really good. I'm dating somebody. I've been dating her for a little while, and yeah, she's an OS. Like, are you fucking kidding me? You're dating your computer. That's your thing, and like, it's this whole big thing, which sends him down into a spiral. And then the interaction with him and Samantha kind of falls apart for a while. But then after, who knows how long his depression was, that could have been a month. Um, and then him and Samantha interact again, and they kind of share. Finally is able to share his whatever his problem was with her, and that's when their relationship regresses. But at the same time, he's still kind of weirded out because she's not a physical person, and the AI picks up on that. And it's like, well, I wish I did have a physical body, what it felt like to have a physical body. And that's when she goes after finding now this is probably, close to a year after, he got the OS system. So now there are people who know about the OS system, and like you have like the weird fringes of society who are like, oh, these people date OS systems. Cool. That's far out, man. And she likes the love that these two supposedly have, and she just wants to be a part of that because she doesn't have someone to love. And so she just wants to be a part of it, whether it means she's used physically or, whatever. So I don't know. The timeline doesn't bother me on this. It's more of like, this is a weird society that moves at the speed of uh you know light speed, essentially, with because of technology is moving at a fast pace. And so people's thoughts on how society should work are moving at a fast pace. Whether that's a good thing or not, that doesn't really bother me so much.
right. Yeah, but just for me though, the timeline is just it does like it's hard for me to put it in context, and like so little about their setting changes that it's hard for me to understand the passage of time.
Okay.
If it was
Yeah.
like
Like I said,
if it was over the
I
two
know
years,
exactly what you're. I know
if it
where
was
you're
over the
coming
two
from.
years and they showed like summer, winter, spring, fall, okay, then I would understand like there was like a progression and like there it would be 2 years. But in the way that it is in the way that it is
It's kind of
presented,
in a
but in
way
the
they
way
do
that it is
show that though.
presented, it doesn't you don't know how time is elapsing. And so, like, yeah, what could be taking like 2 to 5 years, it feels like it's being done within like 3 months.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're. I can see
Yeah,
like
and
what you're
so
talking
yeah,
about.
this and so
I'm assuming that's gonna affect your grade a little bit on the
yeah,
movie
because
too, right?
yeah, I mean not just for that reason, but
Well, how are you feeling about this movie? What did you think about it? I mean, because we kind of talked about like all the kind of the major plot points, but what did you
yeah, this
how did you
movie is
feel about
incredibly
the
sad.
film? It's
It's so
depressing as
fucking
fuck.
sad, and the resolution at the end, it's just like God, like dude,
Computer leaves him.
like I was like half expecting for Theodore and Amy Adams' character both to both jump off the fucking roof.
It's like there's one of two things that are gonna happen. Either him and Amy Adams are gonna hook up, or
Right,
they're
but
gonna
because
fucking kill
like
themselves.
to what you said, like how fucked up these people are in the future, like they like that they can't even like see like the next best option in front of them. So like oh like I was like I literally was half expecting them to both just kill themselves.
They were either gonna
Well, I mean,
fuck or
I
kill
took it more
themselves.
like they're gonna kill themselves because they're so inept at relationships that there's that in like the two supposedly best things that happened to them like these OSs and like now that they're gone, it's like they're gonna kill themselves.
Part because of her stupid ass documentary that
Right.
makes no fucking sense, and then like him because he can't fucking like keep he his computer
Essentially,
dumped
yeah.
him. His computer cheated
Yes.
on him.
And it's like
Ah,
you know, and is it? I mean, partially it can't be the OS's fault because she's a non-corporeal being. She essentially lives in the internet, and she could literally be everywhere at once. And she can interact with a
right
multitude of people, and yeah, at once,
at once.
and and I'm sure like her capacity to be in love with uh people is vastly increased.
Yeah. Yeah, it is an incredibly depressing film. It's a depressing futuristic view of society that we're definitely on our way if we're not
Yeah, I mean
careful to that to the her
even
society.
when the relationship was some supposedly reconciled and they go on that vacation up in the mountains in the cabin and there's like that montage of him just like dancing around like an idiot. I was like, dude, this is so fucking sad and pathetic.
Yeah,
Like he's I mean, and to an extent, like when they're playing that game on the Santa Monica Pier, it's like, dude, like he's just playing with himself. I mean, not in that lewd, like gross way, but he's playing pretend. He's playing
yeah, yeah,
pretend.
yeah. That's exactly what it is. And he looks like a weirdo. And then you also see these other people who are probably interacting with their own OSs who are also acting like weirdos too, that you see throughout like the bus station and whatnot, or the train station. it's a pretend
He's
society.
pretending. He's playing by himself.
The other thing too is that you have the OSs who are now so powerful that they're
Oh yeah,
creating
yeah,
their
yeah.
own entities.
What is it?
Which I think is the guy who I think the voice actor isn't that the guy from John Wick, the from the
No. It's
Continental.
Brian
Isn't
Cox.
that him? Oh,
Brian Cox.
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
right. No,
it's
you're right.
yeah,
It is
the
Brian Cox.
AIs.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
they essentially. I mean, the OSs they are AIs, but they created another OS in the style of this philosopher, like Alan Watt, I believe it was.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
That's Brian Cox's voice. I get those two mixed up every
Oh,
once in
Ian
a while.
McShane.
Ian McShane, yeah, thank you. Yeah, Ian McShane and Brian Cox. Every once in a while, like their voices sound a little bit alike, but yeah, they're not. Yeah, it's not the same. Yeah, it's Brian Cox, and yeah. Uh, well, how would you rate her, Andy?
I don't want to be too harsh, but
Well, this is probably not a movie you're gonna be coming back to anytime
no.
soon, I
I mean,
imagine.
much kind of in the same way that I wouldn't be going back to Wind River, um, on a
Yeah,
regular basis.
yeah.
Uh,
Wind River, yeah. Fuck yeah, dude.
um, I give it a maybe 3.5.
Oh man, I think that this is a incredibly well-made film. I think it is well acted. Um, the 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 core of the movie is really messed up, but there is something. This is like I said, this is not a movie I'm always going to be going back to. Like it's like woo, yeah, I gotta watch her this year. You know, it's like it's not like a year.
It's not
This
a
is
yearly
not
watch.
a
It's not a yearly
Die Hard
watch.
with a Vengeance. Yeah, this is not Die Hard with a Vengeance where like is it when it's on, it's like
Mhm.
fuck yeah, I gotta watch this movie. But I do find it very intriguing, and I think that the more I watch it, there's gonna be more that I take away from it. I'm gonna give this I'm gonna give it a 4. Yeah, I do agree with your criticism of like the timeline seems a little odd, and it seems like everything happens a little too fast in this film without without the passage of time being a little bit more pronounced. Uh, but I don't know. I was never bored with this film either. That's a
Right. I
huge
mean,
thing. I think the pacing was pretty good, but like
yeah. I mean, visually, and technically, this movie was very well done. Um, and I'm the technical guy. So yeah, like aesthetically, like it's really good.
yeah,
it's just
uh,
futuristic enough, but there's still elements that tie it to contemporary times.
I think that this film is also a it is a warning of what our
Hmm.
society can become. We should be very
Oh, for
careful
sure.
because we are right on the verge of that right now.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I enjoy this film. I'm gonna come back to it at some point, but just yeah, not gonna be a yearly revisit for me. I'll probably come back to it in a few years.
Word. All right, folks. That's our review for her. I give it a 3.5. Rob gives it a 4. Definitely an interesting movie. I mean, I had my problems with it for sure, but it's still still a really interesting movie, and you know, paints a pretty bleak view of the kind of path that we're on. In actuality. Uh, but maybe I hope and despite its uh, depressing message, I hope it's more of a warning than you know what is it, self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh, all right, folks, that'll bring us to the end of our stream. I hope you had a good time. I had a good time. I know Rob always has a good time.
Andy, I always have a great time with you. Tuesday is one of my favorite days of the week. And next week we're going to be reviewing Andy's pick for Rise of the Machines month, Simone.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. It's funny because I haven't even watched it. This will be my first time viewing this movie. I yeah I
Oh,
yeah I know
really? Yeah, you
I've
picked it.
known about this movie for forever, but
I thought this was like oh, I've seen this movie
oh,
like
no, no,
10
no,
times. I can't wait to show
I've
it to you,
known
Rob.
about this movie,
Yeah.
but I for some reason I've never gotten around to just like watching it. But it's
Okay,
still my
but it's
pick.
still your
So
pick,
yeah.
Andy. So we're gonna watch Simone next week. I've
All
never
right.
seen it either, so
Yeah.
it'll be
So
fun.
yeah, I hope we'll see. We'll see if we are simpatico on this movie. Yeah.
On Simone.
But yeah, it's something to look forward to next week. In the meantime, don't forget to check
Yes,
out the
sir.
library of other content that we have. The Circle of Jerks main podcast. Previous episodes of Nocturnal Transmissions, of course, and Rob's gaming show, Up by Up Down. Don't forget to follow us on our various social media accounts: X, and Letterboxd at PodcastCOJ, and Instagram at Circle of Jerks Podcast. And with all that said, we thank you for joining us tonight. Come back next week, and we'll do it all over again. Have a good one.